My friends, there are moments in life when the noise of the world becomes so loud that it drowns out the quiet whisper of truth inside you. We rush, we strive, we struggle, and yet the deepest answers, the ones our soul cries for, are never found in the chaos. They are found in the stillness, in the sacred silence where your heart finally becomes open to the voice that can transform everything. Meditation is not merely a technique. It is not something you do with your mind alone. Meditation is a posture of the spirit. It is the place where you allow the eternal to speak into the temporary, where you let divine truth interrupt human limitation. When you sit in meditation, you are not escaping life. You are preparing to live it with power. There is a presence that meets you in the quiet. A presence that comforts the broken, strengthens the weary, guides the confused, and lifts the discouraged. When you meditate with faith, you enter into a realm where fear loses its grip, where anxiety melts away, where burdens fall off your shoulders like dust. Your life changes when your inner world changes. And your inner world changes when your spirit becomes aligned with divine truth. Meditation with faith is not passive. It is powerful. It is the moment heaven's peace begins to flow through your mind, your emotions, your decisions. It is the moment you stop listening to the world and start listening to the one who designed your destiny. If you meditate on hope, hope grows. If you meditate on peace, peace grows. If you meditate on truth, truth prevails. If you meditate on God's promises, your life begins to rise above every limitation that tried to define you. Today, I invite you to enter that quiet room inside you. Close the door on fear. Shut out the voices of doubt. Breathe deeply. Be still. Let your heart soften. Let your burdens go. Let divine strength fill the empty spaces within you. Because when you meditate with faith, you are not just calming your mind, you are transforming your future. Your thoughts begin to heal. Your emotions begin to lift. Your spirit begins to rise. Your vision becomes clearer. Your purpose becomes stronger. And your life begins to change from the inside out. So, meditate on truth. Meditate on hope. Meditate on the presence that has never left you, never abandoned you, never given up on you. And watch. Watch as your life begins to shift, transform, and elevate in ways you never imagined. Be still and be changed. Be quiet and be strengthened. Meditate and watch your life rise into its destiny. Meditation aligns your inner world with divine truth by creating a sacred meeting place between your human limitations and the limitless power that waits quietly within you. When you slow down, breathe deeply, and enter the stillness of your own spirit, something profound begins to happen. The noise that once felt overwhelming starts to loosen its grip, and the burdens that sat heavily on your shoulders become lighter, not because your circumstances changed, but because your inner posture shifted. This shift is where divine truth begins to speak. It does not shout. It does not force itself. It waits for the moment when your heart becomes quiet enough to hear what has always been available to you. The inner world is often crowded with doubts, fears, assumptions, stress, and memories that still echo inside your mind. These inner voices shape the way you see yourself, the way you see others, and the way you interpret the future. When people try to change their lives by adjusting the outside, money, relationships, opportunities, habits, they often end up frustrated because the foundation inside them remains shaky. Meditation is the process of realigning that foundation, not with temporary ideas, but with eternal truth that does not move, does not break, and does not lie. When your inner world becomes centered on divine truth, your reactions soften, your patience expands, your clarity sharpens, and your spirit becomes strong enough to face challenges without collapsing. This alignment does not happen through force or pressure. It happens through surrender. You sit, you breathe, you close your eyes, and you allow the truth that is greater than you to settle gently into your heart. In that moment, the things that once controlled you, fear, confusion, insecurity, begin to lose their authority. Divine truth brings a kind of light to the mind and soul that reveals what is real and what is simply noise. Meditation creates the space for that light to enter. Without this stillness, truth remains theoretical. With stillness, it becomes personal, alive, and transformative. When divine truth enters your inner world, it reshapes the way you interpret every situation. A problem that once seemed overwhelming becomes smaller because you are no longer facing it with your own strength alone. A relationship that seemed impossible to heal becomes a space for grace. A dream that felt unreachable becomes something you can envision more clearly. Meditation aligns your thoughts with a higher reality. It trains your mind to let go of assumptions, false beliefs, and emotional distortions that build up over time. You begin to see yourself differently. You begin to understand that you are not defined by your past, your mistakes, or your limitations. You are defined by the truth spoken over you, the truth that meditation allows you to hear more clearly. When you sit in silence long enough, your inner world begins to reflect the nature of the truth you meditate on. If you meditate on peace, peace begins to settle into your spirit. If you meditate on hope, discouragement loses its grip. If you meditate on strength, weakness becomes less intimidating. Divine truth is like water flowing into a dry place. It nourishes every part of you that has been depleted. Many people try to change their lives by fighting the symptoms of their inner battles, but meditation allows you to address the root. It helps you identify the lies you have believed, the fears you have agreed with, and the patterns you have repeated without realizing it. When truth confronts these inner distortions, transformation begins in a more natural, gentle, lasting way. This alignment also impacts the emotional world. Emotions are powerful, but they can also be unstable. They rise and fall, sometimes without warning. When your inner world is anchored in divine truth, your emotions begin to stabilize. Fear no longer sends you into panic. Sadness no longer leads to hopelessness. Stress no longer overwhelms your capacity to think clearly. You begin to regulate your emotions not by suppressing them, but by grounding them in truth that remains steady even when life does not. Meditation is the practice that allows this grounding to become part of your daily experience. In this place of stillness, divine truth also heals your identity. Many people live with a fractured sense of self, carrying wounds, labels, and expectations that never came from truth. Meditation creates the space to release these false identities. You begin to realize that your worth does not come from what others think, what you achieve, or what you fail to do. It comes from the truth of who you are at your core. This realization softens your heart and strengthens your spirit at the same time. You become less reactive, less defensive, and less controlled by the opinions of others. Your inner world becomes peaceful, steady, and aligned with what is real and eternal. This alignment affects how you make decisions. When the inner world is filled with clarity, your choices become more intentional. You stop acting from impulse or fear. You begin to sense direction, wisdom, and guidance that was always available, but previously drowned out by inner noise. Meditation helps you discern what is right, what is healthy, what is necessary, and what is harmful. It helps you move from confusion to conviction, from hesitation to confidence, from uncertainty to steady vision. The more you meditate, the more you learn to recognize the difference between the inner noise created by your fears and the quiet truth that comes from a deeper source. Meditation sharpens your spiritual senses. It teaches you to lean into intuition, to trust the gentle whisper within, and to follow the peace that accompanies truth. This inner alignment becomes a compass that guides your daily life. You begin to live not from reaction but from intention, not from fear but from faith, not from confusion but from clarity. When your inner world aligns with divine truth, it creates a ripple effect that touches every area of your life. It influences your relationships by making you more compassionate, patient, and understanding. It affects your work by increasing focus, creativity, and purpose. It impacts your physical well-being by reducing stress and restoring calmness to your nervous system. It affects your spiritual life by deepening your connection to the source of truth itself. Meditation becomes the doorway through which transformation flows naturally into every part of your life, because the inner alignment becomes the core of your being. This is why meditation is not a small practice or an optional activity. It is a powerful spiritual discipline that changes who you are on the inside so that your life can change on the outside. When your inner world becomes aligned with divine truth, everything around you begins to reflect that alignment in ways you may have never imagined before. Stillness opens the door for spiritual clarity and transformation, because it is the only environment where the deeper layers of the soul can surface without interruption. When life moves quickly, when responsibilities pull at you from every direction, when noise surrounds your mind and emotions, your inner self becomes tangled in thoughts that are not your own and desires that do not reflect who you truly are. The constant motion of life blinds you to the quiet guidance that waits beneath the noise. Stillness becomes the key that unlocks the deeper wisdom within you. The moment you allow yourself to stop, breathe, and be present, the confusion that once felt overwhelming begins to soften, not because your problems disappear, but because your inner vision becomes clearer. You begin to see what matters, what is true, what is unnecessary, and what needs to be released. Stillness creates the space where clarity can emerge naturally, without effort or force. In the rush of daily life, your thoughts scatter in many directions, often leaving you mentally exhausted and spiritually disconnected. But when you choose stillness, your thoughts begin to settle like dust in a quiet room. The restlessness inside you slowly dissolves, and what remains is a sense of awareness that you may not have felt in a long time. This awareness is not created by thinking harder, it is created by thinking less. When you let go of mental noise, your spirit becomes alert and attentive. You begin to sense truths that were drowned out by the noise of busyness. You realize that clarity isn't something you chase, it's something you allow. It arrives when the mind is quiet enough to receive it. Stillness becomes the doorway through which this clarity walks in gently, bringing with it a sense of direction that feels authentic and grounded. This clarity does not come from logic alone. It comes from a deeper place within, the place where your spirit touches divine wisdom. Stillness allows you to connect with that place. It aligns your heart and mind in a way that everyday activity cannot. When you sit in silence, your spirit becomes more sensitive to the subtle nudges of truth, the gentle guidance that is always available but rarely heard. You begin to notice thoughts that carry peace, impulses that carry wisdom, and insights that carry direction. These moments of clarity feel like light breaking through a cloudy sky. They illuminate what was confusing and reveal pathways you didn't see before. Stillness becomes a sacred meeting ground between your spirit and the wisdom that seeks to guide you. In stillness, your emotions also begin to settle. Emotional storms that once felt intense gradually lose their strength when you stop feeding them with constant thought. Fear becomes quieter. Anger softens. Anxiety loosens its grip. These emotions do not disappear instantly, but they transform in the presence of quietness. Stillness allows you to observe your emotions without becoming tangled in them. You begin to understand their roots, their triggers, and their patterns. This emotional clarity becomes a foundation for personal transformation. Instead of reacting impulsively, you begin to respond with intention. Instead of being overwhelmed, you become centered. Stillness gives you the space to understand yourself more deeply and compassionately. The transformative power of stillness also lies in its ability to reveal truth. When you silence the noise, the truth that has been buried under layers of fear, doubt, and distraction begins to rise. You see where you have been holding yourself back. You see the beliefs that have been limiting you. You see the burdens you have been carrying unnecessarily. This kind of truth can be uncomfortable at times, but it is the doorway to growth. Stillness invites you to face yourself, not the version shaped by stress or insecurity, but the authentic version shaped by truth. When you encounter this version, transformation becomes possible because you are no longer living from illusion. You are living from awareness. Stillness also strengthens your intuition. Intuition is often quiet, gentle, and easily overshadowed by loud thoughts and external pressures. But in stillness, intuition becomes clearer. You begin to sense what is right for you, what aligns with your values, what brings peace, and what leads you astray. You start trusting your inner guidance more because you can hear it without interference. This intuitive clarity becomes a compass for your decisions, leading you toward choices that support your growth and away from choices that drain your spirit. Transformation becomes a natural outcome because you are no longer navigating life blindly. You are guided by an inner awareness that sees beyond the surface. In stillness, your relationship with yourself deepens. You begin to appreciate the quiet strength within you that often goes unnoticed. You reconnect with your purpose, your desires, and your spiritual identity. This reconnection brings healing to the parts of you that have been neglected or wounded. Stillness becomes a sanctuary where you can rest, reflect, and realign. When you return from this place, you carry a different energy, calmer, wiser, more grounded. Others notice the shift. You begin to act with more patience, speak with more clarity, and live with more intention. The transformation is not loud or dramatic. It is subtle, steady, and deeply rooted. Stillness also helps you release what you no longer need. In silence, you see the attachments, habits, and thoughts that drain your energy. You become aware of relationships that no longer uplift you, responsibilities that no longer serve you, and fears that no longer define you. This awareness gives you the strength to let go. Letting go becomes easier because clarity has revealed what is essential and what is not. Transformation becomes possible because you create space for new thoughts, new habits, and new experiences to enter. The power of stillness extends into the physical body as well. When you quiet the mind, the body follows. Stress levels decrease. Breathing becomes deeper. Muscles relax. The nervous system shifts into balance. This physical calmness supports mental and spiritual clarity, creating a cycle of healing that flows naturally from the inside out. Stillness helps restore the harmony between mind, body, and spirit. This harmony becomes the foundation for a healthier, more peaceful life. In stillness, you begin to recognize that clarity is not something external. It is already within you, waiting beneath the layers of noise and distraction. Transformation is not something you force. It is something that unfolds when you create the space for it. Stillness becomes the environment where this unfolding happens. Each moment of quiet becomes a step toward becoming more aligned, more aware, and more connected with your deeper truth. The more you practice stillness, the more your inner world transforms, and the more your outer life reflects that inner transformation. Focused meditation reshapes your thoughts, emotions, and future because it works directly on the inner patterns that quietly influence every area of your life. When you meditate with intention and consistency, your mind begins to release the old pathways that were formed by fear, stress, and negativity. These pathways were shaped by years of repeated thoughts. Some you chose, many you didn't. But meditation gives you the power to create new patterns, new associations, and new internal responses. It allows you to gently unlearn what has been holding you back and relearn what empowers you. When you sit in silence, focusing your awareness on truth, peace, or purpose, you guide your mind into a new rhythm that gradually becomes a part of your everyday thinking. This shift does not happen overnight, but with repetition, your internal landscape changes in ways that become visible in your behavior, your choices, and your entire direction in life. Thoughts shape your perception of the world, and perception shapes your actions. When someone lives in a constant stream of stressful or negative thoughts, they naturally see life through a lens of pressure, fear, and scarcity. They feel limited because their mind is filled with limitations. But when meditation becomes a daily practice, the mind begins to soften. The tight grip of fear loosens, the weight of past mistakes becomes lighter, and the assumptions that once seemed impossible to change begin to dissolve. Meditation helps you observe your thoughts without being controlled by them. You start recognizing the stories you've been telling yourself. Stories about what you can or cannot do, who you are or are not, what is possible or impossible. As you become aware of these stories, you gain the power to rewrite them. Meditation gives you the space to interrupt habitual thinking. Instead of reacting automatically, you begin to respond with clarity. You become more conscious of your mental habits. You notice when your mind slips into self-doubt, when fear begins to rise, when anger tries to take over, or when old insecurities begin to whisper their familiar lines. Through focused meditation, you build the mental strength to pause, breathe, and choose a different thought. You learn to replace fear with faith, doubt with confidence, and confusion with insight. This shift may feel subtle at first, but over time, it becomes a new mental foundation. Your thoughts become calmer, clearer, and more aligned with the life you want to build. Your emotions also begin to transform through meditation. Many people live as prisoners of their emotions, shifting from anxiety to frustration to sadness without understanding why. But meditation helps you detach from emotional storms instead of being swept away by them. You begin to see emotions as passing waves rather than permanent states. When a wave rises, stress, fear, anger, you can observe it without drowning in it. This awareness gives you emotional resilience. You become less reactive, more stable, and more grounded. Emotional triggers lose their power because meditation strengthens your ability to center yourself before responding. Meditation also increases emotional intelligence. You become more aware of what you're feeling and why. You begin to understand the root causes behind your emotional patterns. Maybe your anger comes from fear. Maybe your sadness comes from a longing you've been ignoring. Maybe your anxiety comes from not trusting your own inner wisdom. Meditation brings these hidden patterns to the surface. Once you see them clearly, you can heal them. You start responding to life with more compassion toward yourself and others. Your relationships improve because you communicate more calmly, listen more deeply, and understand more patiently. This emotional transformation enhances every part of your life. Meditation also reshapes your future because it changes the decisions you make. When your thoughts are clouded and your emotions are unstable, your decisions are often reactive and scattered. But when your inner world becomes centered through meditation, you begin making decisions with clarity and intention. You know when something feels aligned. You know when something disrupts your peace. You begin choosing paths that bring growth rather than chaos, peace rather than noise, purpose rather than confusion. Meditation awakens your intuition, the inner compass that guides you toward the future meant for you. This intuitive guidance becomes stronger the more you practice stillness. You start noticing signs, opportunities, and insights that you would have missed before. You begin to sense the right timing for action, the right people to trust, the right direction to pursue. With a clearer mind and balanced emotions, your future becomes less accidental and more intentional. You begin designing your life rather than drifting through it. You set clearer goals because your inner voice is no longer drowned out by fear or doubt. You commit to healthier habits because you understand your deeper needs. You pursue opportunities that align with your values because your mental and emotional clarity helps you see what truly matters. Meditation gives you the strength to let go of what is not meant for you and the courage to step toward what is. Meditation also reshapes your future by strengthening your ability to focus. In a world filled with distractions, focus is one of the most valuable abilities. Without focus, dreams remain dreams. With focus, they become reality. Meditation trains your mind to stay present. It teaches you to bring your attention back whenever it drifts. This practice improves your concentration, increases your productivity, and sharpens your ability to stay committed to your goals without being discouraged by setbacks. A focused mind creates forward movement, and forward movement shapes the future. Meditation also increases your sense of inner stability, which becomes a powerful foundation for growth. When your mind is calm and your emotions are steady, challenges do not break you, they teach you. Failures do not define you, they guide you. Stress does not overwhelm you, it passes through you without destroying your peace. This inner stability gives you the strength to face uncertain moments. It gives you the courage to pursue changes that once felt too big. It gives you the endurance to keep going when the journey becomes difficult. Meditation reshapes your relationship with yourself. As you sit in silence, observing your thoughts and emotions, you begin to understand yourself more deeply. You learn to be kinder to yourself. You stop judging yourself harshly. You release unrealistic expectations and begin appreciating the progress you're making, even when it's slow. This self-compassion becomes a powerful force in shaping your future because you no longer sabotage yourself with self-criticism. Instead, you support your growth with patience and understanding. Focused meditation also cultivates gratitude, which changes the direction of your future by shifting your attention from what is lacking to what is present. Gratitude increases your emotional energy, strengthens your relationships, and attracts more positive experiences into your life. Meditation helps you see blessings you once overlooked. It opens your eyes to the beauty of small moments, the support you have, and the opportunities around you. A grateful mind shapes a hopeful future. When you practice meditation consistently, your inner world becomes aligned with clarity, peace, and purpose. This alignment naturally shapes your outer world. You begin to live with more intention, more confidence, and more authenticity. Your life becomes a reflection of your inner transformation. Your future becomes a reflection of the thoughts you cultivate, the emotions you heal, and the clarity you embrace through the simple but powerful act of sitting in stillness and focusing your awareness on what is true, peaceful, and meaningful. In the quiet places of your soul, a new life is waiting to emerge. Through meditation, stillness, and focused awareness, you are not simply calming your mind. You are rebuilding the very foundation of who you are. Every moment you choose silence over noise, truth over fear, and awareness over distraction, you step closer to the life you were created to live. You begin to see that transformation does not start outside of you. It begins in the invisible spaces of your inner world, where thoughts shift, emotions heal, and clarity rises like light in the early morning. This entire journey is about returning to yourself. Your true self, the self that is strong, peaceful, wise, and deeply connected to a higher truth. When you meditate, you give your spirit room to breathe. You allow your mind to release the weight it's been carrying. You create space for healing that no external force could ever provide. Stillness becomes your sanctuary. Focus becomes your strength. Inner truth becomes your compass. And from this place, your future begins to form in new and extraordinary ways. You are no longer reacting to life. You are shaping it. You are no longer controlled by fear. You are guided by peace. You are no longer lost in confusion. You are anchored in clarity. The transformation may begin quietly, but it grows into something powerful, something visible, something undeniable. Your thoughts shift, your emotions soften, your choices become wiser, and your life gradually aligns with the highest version of who you are meant to be. This is the miracle of inner work, slow, gentle, but life-changing. So as you move forward, may you continue choosing the path of awareness. May you return to stillness when the world becomes loud. May you meditate not just to escape life, but to rise into it with greater strength. May you find the courage to let go of old patterns and the faith to embrace new beginnings. Let this practice become the ground where your spirit stands firm and your future grows bright. Everything you seek, peace, clarity, purpose, healing, already lives within you, waiting to be awakened through the simple act of being still and focusing your heart on truth. Good luck on your journey of inner transformation. May peace surround you, may clarity guide you, and may strength rise within you every time you sit in silence. Thank you for listening, and thank you for giving your spirit the space to grow.